Some neighborhoods are peaceful. Others hide secrets behind white fences. When Michael Carter moved in, all he wanted was a quiet life. But what he got was surveillance, sabotage, and a neighbor who'd do anything to drive him out. She crossed the wrong man. Because Michael isn't just any homeowner, he's a former cop who knows how to fight back the right way. This isn't just a story about a pool dispute. It's about standing your ground, exposing lies, and delivering quiet justice. Imagine a warm summer afternoon in a high-end suburb of Atlanta. Michael Carter, a retired officer with 15 years on the force, was finally enjoying the life he'd worked so hard to build. Years of penny pinching and clocking in extra hours had paid off. He now owned his dream home. A sleek two-story house, complete with a pristine backyard pool that shimmered beneath the Georgia sunshine. As he relaxed in his deck chair, soaking in the peaceful breeze, that quiet was suddenly ripped apart by the blare of sirens. 2 squad cars skidded to a stop outside his property. Officers stepped out, hands hovering near their weapons. "We got a call about a possible intruder near this pool," one of them announced. Michael's stomach tightened. He didn't need to guess who made the complaint. Out of the corner of his eye, he spotted his neighbor, Karen Thompson, peering from behind her curtains with a satisfied smirk. This wasn't her first stunt, but she had no idea it would be her last. Let's rewind to how it all started too. Months before, Michael had just begun unpacking after moving into his newly purchased home. It was a dream come true, the kind his parents had always hoped for him but never reached. This neighborhood was known for its status, and his home was immaculately kept, especially the pool that had sealed the deal for him. As he adjusted the chairs on his patio that first day, he noticed a figure standing across the street. It was Karen, planted at her second-floor window, phone in hand, staring directly at him as if sizing him up. From the start, her energy felt wrong. Michael offered a courteous wave, but she vanished behind her curtains without a response. The following day, while he made a quick run to the hardware store, a motion alert from his security system came through. He watched in disbelief as the same woman strolled through his unlatched backyard gate like she owned it. Wearing a designer swimsuit and holding an expensive-looking towel, she casually claimed a poolside chair and dipped her toes into the water. When Michael returned and questioned her, her reaction was beyond audacious. Feigning shock, she placed a hand on her chest and said, "Oh, I assumed you were the new pool guy. The previous owners always let me use the pool." Her patronizing tone made his jaw tighten, but his training helped him maintain composure. "Ma'am, I'm not the pool cleaner. I'm the new homeowner," he said firmly. "I'd appreciate it if you'd ask before stepping onto my property." Karen's face contorted. In disbelief? "You, the owner." She chuckled awkwardly. "That can't be right. I know the realtor managing this place." And she didn't mention. She waved her hand dismissively in his direction, leaving her offensive insinuation hanging unspoken. "There's no confusion, Mrs. Thompson. This is my home, and you're trespassing." "Kindly leave," Michael responded, his voice level though he was seething inside. As she gathered her belongings and shuffled out, she muttered under her breath, "We'll see about that." It wasn't a casual remark, it was a veiled warning. In the weeks that followed, her behavior escalated from irritating to downright outrageous. One Saturday morning, Michael awoke to the sound of chatter and splashing water. Looking outside, he froze. Karen had thrown a full-on pool party with 4 of her friends right in his backyard. His patience was about to run out. Michael stepped out onto the patio with measured authority. "You need to leave now," he said firmly. "This is private property." Karen, lounging near the pool, gave a dismissive wave. "Oh, relax. We're just enjoying ourselves. It's not like you use this pool much anyway." Her friends exchanged uneasy glances, adjusting their designer sunglasses and slowly gathering their things. "Karen told us she had permission," one of them whispered apologetically, drawing on years of law enforcement experience. Michael stayed composed. "Mrs. Thompson, this is your final notice. If you trespass again, I will notify the police." Karen scoffed as she reluctantly stood. "Go ahead. I know half the precinct. My husband golfs with Captain Richards." That same afternoon, Michael installed a comprehensive security camera system. His time on the force had taught him the importance of thorough documentation. Within just a few days, the footage captured Karen testing the lock on his gate, peering into his windows, and even trying to use an old key she clearly copied from the prior owners. But the tipping point came when Michael returned from a quick grocery run to discover a full gathering underway in his backyard. 8 women sipping wine, flipping pages of novels, and stretched out beside the pool. This time, Michael didn't hesitate. He called the police. Officers Davis and Martinez, both former colleagues of Michael's, responded to the call. "Mike, been a while," Davis greeted before noticing the scene. "Ah, one of those calls." Karen immediately turned on the dramatics, tears welling up. "Officers, thank goodness you're here. This man has been threatening us. We've always had access to this pool, and now he's harassing us." Officer Martinez raised an eyebrow. "Ma'am, Mr. Carter served with distinction on the force. If he says you're not welcome here, you're trespassing. Please leave before we're forced to take official action." Karen flushed as she and her guests quickly packed up. She paused at the gate, glaring back. "This isn't over," she spat. You don't belong here and I'll make sure everyone knows it. Her next moves were sneakier, more insidious. Suddenly, anonymous posts popped up on the neighborhood Facebook group questioning Michael's character. His daily newspaper started vanishing, and HOA complaints began to flood in, accusing him of letting his yard go even though it was pristine. But Michael wasn't new to dirty tactics. His cameras captured Karen creeping up before sunrise to swipe his paper, snapping photos of his house at odd hours, and even pouring weed killer on his prized rose bushes under the cover of night. The monthly HOA meeting, Karen went public. "I'm concerned about declining property values," she announced, throwing a sharp glance Michael's way. "Some recent changes in our community are making potential buyers uneasy." Michael stood, pulling out his phone. "Interesting timing, Mrs. Thompson. Would you care to explain this footage of you destroying my garden last Tuesday at exactly 11:47 p.m.? The room fell silent as the screen displayed crystal-clear video. Karen's face drained of color, but she quickly switched gears. "I was investigating. I'd heard rumors someone was damaging properties, so I took a look myself." Michael didn't flinch, "And now we know exactly who that someone is." That evening, Michael discovered a fresh Salta's pool, now foaming with dish soap, ruining the water for days. As he stared at the suds swirling across the surface, he didn't get angry. Instead, he began crafting a strategy. If Karen wanted to escalate things at the pool, then it was time he responded not with threats, but with precision. This battle was far from over. Michael stepped out onto the patio, his voice steady and firm. "You need to leave immediately," he stated without hesitation. "This is private property." Karen, reclining lazily by the pool, waved him off with a smirk. "Oh, come on, we're just having a little fun. It's not like you're out here every day." Her companions looked uncomfortable, slowly collecting their belongings as they glanced between each other. Karen said it was fine. One murmured quietly, avoiding eye contact. Drawing on his years in law enforcement, Michael kept his cool. "Mrs. Thompson, consider this your last warning. If you trespass again, the authorities will be involved." Karen rolled her eyes as she stood up, clearly annoyed. "Do what you want. My husband plays golf with Captain Richard Swear, practically family." Later that day, Michael took action. He installed a high-resolution security system covering every angle of the property. His years on the job taught him the importance of evidence. It didn't take long before the cameras caught Karen in the act testing the gate, peeking through windows, and even using what appeared to be a copied key from the previous owners. The breaking point came when Michael returned from a short trip to find his backyard taken over, 8 women lounging, sipping drinks, reading books like it was their private resort. This time, Michael didn't pause. He called the police without hesitation. Responding to the call were Officers Davis and Martinez, both former colleagues. "Mike," longtime Davis said before surveying the backyard. "Ah, classic trespass case." Karen turned on the charm instantly, feigning distress. "Officers, thank God you're here. This man has been threatening us. We've always had permission to use this pool." Martinez gave a skeptical look. "Ma'am, Mr. Carter is a respected former officer. If he says you're not welcome, that means you're trespassing, leave now, or face charges." Karen, fuming, began gathering her things. At the gate, she stopped and hissed, "This isn't over. You don't belong in this neighborhood, eel. Make sure people remember that." Karen shifted tactics, opting for underhanded methods. Suddenly, suspicious posts started appearing on the neighborhood social media page and anonymously criticizing Michael. His newspaper stopped showing up. Petty complaints began flooding the HOA about yard neglect, though his lawn was immaculate. But Michael was used to smear campaigns. His surveillance caught her red-handed stealing his paper at dawn, lurking around to snap invasive photos, and even dousing his rose garden with herbicide under the cloak of darkness. At the next HOA gathering, Karen went on the offensive. "I'm deeply concerned about the future of our neighborhood," she said, throwing a deliberate look at Michael. "Certain recent arrivals seem to be affecting property values." Michael stood calmly, holding up his phone. "Is that so, Mrs. Thompson? Then how do you explain this footage of you vandalizing my garden last Tuesday night at exactly 11:47 p.m.? The room went silent as the screen showed Karen clearly on camera. Her face went pale, but she quickly pivoted. "I was investigating. I heard someone was damaging yards and went to check for myself." Michael didn't blink. "Well, mystery was you." That night, Michael found another provocation. His pool was filled with thick, soapy foam. The water was ruined. But instead of losing his temper, he sat down to think. Karen clearly wanted a war. Fine. He'd give her one, but not with shouting, matches, or legal threats. He would respond with precision, strategy, and patience. If she wanted to play games at the pool, he was ready to outmaneuver her. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. Michael walked out onto the patio, his tone cool and controlled. "You need to go now," he said flatly. "This isn't a public space." Karen, lounging by the pool like she owned it, gave a dismissive wave. "Oh, relax. We're just enjoying the sunshine. You're barely out here anyway." Her friends shifted, awkwardly, quietly gathering their belongings, unsure of what to do. "Karen told us it was fine. one whispered, avoiding Michael's eyes. Drawing on years of police discipline, Michael stayed composed. Mrs. Thompson, this is the final warning. Next time, I won't be asking, I'll be filing a report. Karen stood up, irritated. Go ahead. My husband plays golf with Captain Richards. We're not exactly strangers around here. That afternoon, Michael acted fast. He installed a top-tier security camera system with full coverage of the property. Years on the force had taught him one thing: always document everything. It didn't take long before he had what he needed: footage of Karen trying the gate, peeking through his windows, and even slipping in with what looked like a duplicate key. The final straw, returning from an overnight trip to find his backyard, taken over IT women sunbathing, sipping wine, and treating his space like a country club. Michael didn't hesitate this time. He called the police immediately. Responding to the scene were Officers Davis and Martinez, old colleagues from the precinct. Mike, been a while, Davis said as he scanned the yard. Yep, textbook trespassing. Karen immediately turned on the drama. Officers, thank goodness. This man has been harassing us. The previous owners always let us use the pool. Martinez raised an eyebrow. Ma'am, Mr. Carter served with us. If he says you're not allowed here, you're trespassing. Either leave now or deal with charges. Karen packed up furiously. At the gate, she muttered, this isn't over. You don't fit in here. I'll make sure you regret staying. Karen switched to a more covert approach. Anonymously written posts began circulating in the neighborhood Facebook group. Subtle digs, clearly aimed at Michael. His newspaper stopped arriving. HOA complaints started popping up about weeds or trash completely fabricated. But Michael, new smear campaigns, when he saw one, his cameras captured everything. Karen swiping his paper before sunrise, sneaking around to take pictures, even dumping chemicals on his roses late at night. At the next HOA meeting, Karen doubled down. We need to talk about maintaining our community standards, she said, casting a not-so-subtle glance toward Michael. Some recent homeowners may be harming our property values. Michael stood, calm and ready. That's interesting, Mrs. Thompson. Care to explain this? He tapped his phone and played footage of her walking into his yard and spraying his plants. The room went quiet. Karen's face turned ghostly. She fumbled. I was, investigating. I heard someone was damaging gardens. I was just checking. Michael didn't flinch. Looks like you found the culprit. Later that night, Michael discovered the latest on his pool had been turned into a foamy mess. The water was ruined. But he didn't rage. He sat down and started planning. Karen clearly wanted to provoke him into overreacting, but she'd underestimated him. If she wanted to escalate this, he was going to play it smarter. He wouldn't fight fire with fire, he'd fight with strategy, patience, and quiet precision. Karen had started this war. Michael was more than ready to finish it. Michael stood on the patio, but firm. You need to leave right now, he said without emotion. This is private property. Karen, reclining by the pool, as if she owned it, waved him off. Oh, come on, we're just getting some sun. You're hardly ever out here anyway. Her friends looked uncomfortable, quietly gathering their items. Karen said it was okay. One of them mumbled, avoiding Michael's gaze. Drawing from his law enforcement experience, he kept his composure. Mrs. Thompson, this is your last warning. Next time, I won't be asking, I'll be filing a complaint. Karen stood, annoyed. Go ahead. My husband golfs with Captain Richards. We're not exactly nobodies here. That same afternoon, Michael took action. He installed a high-grade security system that monitored every angle of the property. His time as a police officer had taught him the value of solid evidence. It didn't take long before he captured what he needed: clips of Karen fiddling with the gate, peering through his windows, and even sneaking in with what looked like a copied key. The tipping point came after a weekend away. He returned to find 8 women lounging in his yard, sipping wine and treating the place like their own retreat. This time he called the authorities without hesitation. Responding officers were Davis and Martinez, both former co-workers. Mike, long time, Davis said while surveying the scene. Classic case of trespassing. Karen immediately flipped into performance mode. Officers, thank goodness you're here. He's been harassing us. The last owners always welcomed us. Martinez gave her a skeptical look. Ma'am, Mr. Carter served with us. If he says you're not allowed here, then you're not. Leave now, or face legal consequences. Karen stormed off. At the gate, she hissed. This isn't finished. You don't belong. Karen, I'll make sure you regret moving in. Karen then opted for underhanded tactics. Anonymously posted gossip began appearing on the neighborhood's Facebook group. Subtle jabs, clearly targeting Michael. His daily paper stopped showing up. Fake HOA complaints started rolling in about trash and weeds. But Michael had seen smear tactics before. His cameras caught everything. Karen nabbing his newspaper before sunrise, sneaking onto his property to snap photos, even pouring substances on his flower beds under cover of night. During the following HOA meeting, Karen escalated. Need to uphold community standards, she said, throwing a sideways glance at Michael. Some new residents may be dragging down our home values. Michael stood confidently. Funny you mention that, Mrs. Thompson. Care to explain this? He tapped his phone. playing a video of her entering his yard and spraying his plants. The room went dead silent. Karen turned pale. She stammered, "I was inspecting. I heard someone was wrecking gardens. I just wanted to help." Michael didn't budge. "Seems you found the vandal. All right." That evening, Michael discovered a new Lohis pool had been turned into a bubbly disaster. The water was tainted beyond use. Still, he didn't lose his temper. Instead, he sat down and made a plan. Karen was clearly trying to bait him into reacting, but she underestimated who she was dealing with. If she wanted a battle, she'd get one, but it wouldn't be loud or reckless. He would counter with patience, evidence, and precision. Karen had fired the first shot. Now, Michael was ready to end this conflict on his terms. Karen's moving truck finally pulled away, and Michael stood quietly on his deck, sipping a cold lemonade. It wasn't the kind of victory he'd imagined loud or triumphant, but a quiet satisfaction that came from knowing he'd stood his ground with dignity. What truly amazed him was how the ordeal had rallied the neighborhood. People who once only nodded in passing now shared coffee, helped each other with yard work, and spoke freely. That bitter conflict had, unexpectedly, built something stronger. 12 months later, the pool Michael once defended so fiercely had become a favorite hangout for local families. The couple that purchased Karen's house, a warm and down-to-earth pair raising twin girls, fit right in. Their daughters joined the local swim team, and Michael found himself volunteering to help with their training every other weekend. The hostility had faded, replaced with laughter and splashes echoing through the backyard. What was once tense territory was now a place of joy. Guests who stopped by often noticed a small photo near the gaita, snapshot of people dashing down the street covered in bright green pool dye. When asked about it, Michael would just chuckle and say, "That's just a little souvenir reminder that karma likes to leave a mark." No one pressed further. The point was clear. The camera system still kept watch, but the scenes it captured now were far more wholesome: birthday parties, kids' swim lessons, and neighbors enjoying barbecue nights under string lights. Even the dreaded HOA meetings had changed. Gone were the lectures about property value and paint swatches. Now the gatherings were short, friendly, and focused on real improvements. No one missed the power plays or Karen's pointed remarks. Last week, Michael's inbox pinged with an unexpected email and article from a local news outlet in another state. Apparently, Karen had resurfaced, now making headlines for trying to claim access to a neighbor's tennis court. Michael laughed out loud, marked the message as read, and went outside to catch the sunset. Floating in the calm blue water, Michael let his thoughts wander. He didn't feel anger anymore, just clarity. This whole journey had taught him something. Most people don't learn until much later. Revenge doesn't have to be loud. Sometimes, the best answer is showing people that their bullying can't shake you, and that strength doesn't always look like shouting. It looks like holding your line with grace. His pool had become more than just a backyard luxury. It was a symbol of everything he'd earned: peace, respect, and the right to be himself without apology. For anyone who's dealt with entitlement, remember this: there's power in patience and in letting truth speak louder than rage. And yes, it helps to have a solid security system and maybe a little dye on hand for dramatic effect. If you've ever faced a Karen in your life, drop your story in the comments and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories where justice makes a splash.